Welcome back, AgriScience. As promised, this video will be much shorter. We're just going to talk about some institutions and agencies that are related to agriculture. The first one is land grant institutions. So basically, in the 1800s, there was this act that was created called the Morrill Act, and the state legislature actually uh, received funding for actually created funding for agricultural colleges to be built. In 1862, the first Morrill Act was basically to say that each state needed some sort of publicly funded agricultural college. Now, in North Carolina, it started out as UNC Chapel Hill. And this is actually where the entire rivalry between UNC and NC State started many years ago. So in the 1860s, when the Morrill Act was created, the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill was created to be the land grant institution for the state of North Carolina. Well, somewhere along the way, they decided that they would prefer to be like a liberal arts type of a university versus a hands-on agriculture type of university. The funds were taken away from UNC because they didn't want to teach the agriculture and mechanics part of things. And NC State was created to be the agriculture college for North Carolina. So that's where the whole rivalry between those two universities actually started many years ago. So NC State is currently the land grant institution for the state of North Carolina. So if you're looking to do agriculture, then the public university that's associated with that, or the first public university that was associated with that, is NC State. In 1890, another Morrill Act was passed, and that particular one was to create historically black colleges for people who wanted to study agriculture. And so you had NC State, which was the original land grant university, and then the second Morrill Act was created for North Carolina A&T, which is the agricultural college in Greensboro, that is the historically black university for agriculture in North Carolina. So pretty much each state has got two universities that are specifically to teach agriculture. Some states have more. In South Carolina, Clemson is the original land grant university. You've got the University of Georgia in Georgia. Fort Valley State University is the historically black one in Georgia. So there's lots of different universities that were created to be those institutions where they taught agriculture and taught people how to do agricultural sciences. A couple of things that we want to look at is some agriculture-related government agencies. These were established to help farmers and just basically to get information out to the public. This is before the years of Google. You know, these days, if we want to know the answer to something, we Google everything. But before there was Google, you had to get that information from somewhere. And so typically that information was going to come from an extension service. And so the USDA, the United States Department of Agriculture, was created, and there are lots of different branches of the USDA, and their job is to provide leadership on food sources, whether it be animals or plants or whatever. So the United States Department of Agriculture has a huge umbrella that basically looks at crops and plants and animals and natural resources and wildlife and all of those different things. And there are agencies that are underneath that umbrella, like you've got the Natural Resource Conservation Service. APHIS is Animal Plant Health Inspection Service. I actually have a friend who works for APHIS, and his job is to go around to different greenhouse businesses and to inspect to make sure that we don't have issues with invasive species coming in from other countries. So his job is to make sure that we're not having issues with things that we don't want in our greenhouse. So you've got lots of different agencies within one big agency of the U.S. Department of Agriculture umbrella. So we'll look more at the Forest Service a little bit later on whenever we get into the environmental science piece, and we'll be doing that after this unit. So we'll be looking a little bit more at the Forest Service then. Another big one for us is the North Carolina Cooperative Extension Service. So, the North Carolina Cooperative Extension Service is actually employed by NC State University. It's housed at NC State because they're the land grant university, and their job is to take research based knowledge and get it out to the public. And so, again, these days, most of the time, whenever we need information on something, we Google it. But before we Googled it, we actually would call in an extension agent. And if you had an issue with your crops, the extension agent would come out and they would look at your field and they'd help you figure out what was going on with your crops or your animals, your livestock, and they would help you to figure out a plan to fix it. And so the extension agent, their job, and we still have them, and their job is to basically be that resource of education in the community. Mr. Harris and I are a resource for education in high school, but once you get beyond high school, who do you go to ask those questions? And that would be the Cooperative Extension Service. You also have got the Department of Agriculture, North Carolina Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services, and this basically does the same thing as is what you've got the USDA doing, but it's doing it on a state level. And so the NCDA is the North Carolina Department of Agriculture, and they're going to pretty much keep up with the statistics and things that are going on within agriculture in North Carolina. So those are some of the big agencies that we have that are public agencies that help to make sure that agriculture is running the way that it's supposed to in our state and nation. And lots of job opportunities there if that's something that you're interested in down the road. Promise this one will be shorter, so this one is much, much shorter, and I'm going to end there. Next time we will talk about the origin of some different agriculture commodities. See you guys.